Hello YouTubers, welcome to my channel, and today I'm doing a quick user review on the OCZ Petrol SSD, the 64GB variant, which has a Interlinks controller, which is the latest controller they have at OCZ. It's a SATA 3 6 gigabits per second drive. However, I'm using it on my system, which is only a SATA 2, which is quite slow in comparison probably. But if you are using a SATA 3 system, then you're going to see substantial more speed and benefits than I am. There's the SSD there, hidden away in its dusty little house. The SSD does come in a rather cheap looking plastic case. So if looks are something that are important to you, then maybe this SSD isn't for you. However, looks aren't everything, and since most of the time it's sitting in a case, you're not going to see it, so I don't suppose that really matters. Anyway, I have run a quick test benchmark using Crystal Diskmark, and I've compared it here on the right to a Samsung SpinPoint F3 500GB drive. The test is 1GB test, 5 runs, and as you can see, the sequential reads and writes are pretty similar, and as are the 512KB runs. The only difference you'll really see here is between the 4KB and the QDEP32 ones. As you can see, that monstrous 17 megabytes write on the SSD compared to the 1 megabyte write of the Samsung. Benchmarks aren't everything when it comes to SSD testing, because it doesn't really show you real world performance. The Samsung SpinPoint F3 is a superb hard drive. If you want good speed, general good overall performance with large capacity, then I can highly recommend you can get a Samsung SpinPoint F3, or even the new, probably more modern variants, which I think they do with the F4s. I can't remember, I haven't really checked lately. But yes, the Samsung F3 is a great hard drive, a worthy buy. The OCZ Petrol is also quite a good SSD. It's not the best SSD in the world, as it is designed with those on a budget. As you can see from the packaging, it is budget packaging. So it's a budget SSD designed for those who can't afford the super duper SSDs and they want good performance for the money. I paid about £60 British for this SSD, and is it worth the money? I would say yes, it is worth the money. It's not been a problem for me, and I doubt highly that it will be a problem for you. However, if you do have a little more money to spend, or you want to save up a little bit more, I could recommend that you get a Crucial M4 SSD, because those drives are superb, as are others like Samsung's hard drives are quite good SSDs. However, we're reviewing the OCZ Petrol one. So, is it a good drive? Yes, it's a good drive. For the money, it's a good drive. How does it perform? Well, I've pretty much filled up this SSD. There's only about 5 gigabytes of space left. I have Windows 7 on it, obviously, and I also have Battlefield 3 fully patched on it, and that takes up quite a large amount of space. I have After Effects CS 5.5 on it as well, and a few other things to boot. I don't store my music or video or anything else on it, just a few applications here and there. So if you're looking to install lots of games, then a 64GB is not going to cut it. You need at least 120 gig SSD or bigger if you can afford it. If you can't afford it, then get Samsung F3, because they'll perform brilliantly and you'll have plenty of capacity. Startup time is about 10 to 15 seconds from pressing the power on, and restart is around about 10 seconds. So it's quite nifty, like quite quick, quick enough for me. In the real time, the speed difference between a hard drive and an SSD is in the access times. These benchmark results here show you a general idea using a set amount of data, but it doesn't really show you real world speed, and the speed comes from the access times. So the standard hard drive will have between 8 and 16 milliseconds access time, whereas the SSD has an access time of less than 1 millisecond. So there's a great speed difference between the two hard drives. So it's not really a fair comparison because one's a mechanical drive and one's non-mechanical drive. But to give you an example of how quick, I mean, if you were loading Adobe After Effects on a standard hard drive, you could be waiting up to 30 seconds for it to load, whereas on an SSD, if I click now on After Effects, you'll see the splash screen. It will load up its component parts, blah 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 blah, blah, and it'll pop open like that, and it opens up quite quickly. As you can see, just close that down. So loading applications really quick, which is nice. In games like Battlefield 3, which is on the SSD, loading time between maps is what, 20 seconds, if that. I'm usually one of the first ones on the battlefield, which is great. So I no longer have to wait around for things. Installing games and applications really quick. I installed Battlefield 3 in about 40 minutes. I think 44 minutes. Install, patched, ready to go. So installing smaller applications is even quicker. It's just ridiculously quick if you're only used to a certain hard drive. However, I have owned OCZ Vertex drives, and the Vertex drives are a lot quicker, a lot better than these Petrol ones, but then they cost more than the Petrol ones, so that wouldn't be a fair comparison. When I installed it straight in. I didn't really adjust anything. I know there's a lot of things on the internet of what you should do when you have an SSD. I didn't have to update the firmware. The firmware is the latest version it came with, so I didn't have to mess around in the BIOS, which is great. The only thing I changed was the defragging. In Windows 7 I told it not to defrag the hard drive, to leave it alone. I adjusted the page file. I used a smaller page file. I didn't turn it off. I just have a smaller page file on the SSD to save a little bit of space, because I've got plenty of RAM, so I don't really need the page file. Other than that, I didn't really change anything, and it's performed for the past couple of months without an issue. I have had SSDs before where I have adjusted everything. I have turned off indexing and other things, and I had nothing but blue screens all the time. So this time I've actually left it alone and let Windows 7 do its thing with the trim support, which it comes with. Comes fully ready with trim support there. If I could get the light off the camera, there we go. Multi-level cell flash memory, SATA 3 6 gigabits per second. So the results you see there are from SATA 2. So if you're using a SATA 3, sorry, you're going to see better performance all round. If you're wondering about this latest Interlinks controller, it's very good, very good. It's a lot better than OCZ's older controllers when it comes to freeing up the space on the SSD and writing over the blocks. And if you know about SSDs and how they work, you'll know what I'm talking about. It's actually very quick, it's very good, very efficient. Superb controller. Probably not the best on the market, but it does very well, and it does very well considering it's on a budget SSD. So, can I recommend the OCZ Petrol 64GB SSD? Yes, I can. If you don't have the money for anything better, and you're looking at this review and you're thinking, should I get this SSD? Yes. I've had problems with OCZ products before, but this one I've not had a problem with. It's been great. Like I said, the firmware it comes with was the latest, and I have no a single problem with it. I can recommend it. But if you are going to install a lot of things, then I would recommend getting a bigger SSD than 64GB, because 64GB doesn't really cut it, to be honest. And I have a lot of games. I have over 30 games, and I have to use my other hard drives if I want to play them. So yes, if you're going to install lots of things, get a bigger drive. Save up your money, get a better drive. However, if I was going to give it stars, I'll give it 4 out of 5 stars. I only give it 1 less star because it is rather cheap, but then that's the point. I hope you found this review helpful. If you have, leave a comment, rate, subscribe, do what you like. If you have any questions or of any kind, computer related, not just SSDs, then leave your questions or comments in the comments box and I'll try to get back to you. I hope you found the review helpful. That's it for me. Goodbye.